fire. That's the night my niece was staying over. She heard it scream between the two friends over there. There was she woke me up about 3 months. She's up in the pot, I think.
Some of Chris's foxes on the exotic game farm. He jumps up. That's his hutch. He's got 4 of his foxes in. Domesticated foxes. Anybody interested? Contact me and I'll hook you up to Chris. Bye-bye, foxes. Today I got Chris back. You remember him from some previous videos. We did some interviews at his farm, his game farm, about his instances and experiences with Bigfoot, visits, and whatever. Today I'm back at his farm, and I thought it'd be interesting to have him meet another person who's also a Bigfoot experiencer. We have Garret with us, and I've done a video or 2 with Garret in the past. So I thought I'd bring them both together. Garrett's been asking me about Chris. Chris said, yeah, bring him on over. So here they are today. Everybody knows Chris. I've had him on my podcast before. Actually, it was just basically an expedition. And so Garret, do you want to tell us a little something about you? Maybe a little about something about your background?
Well, being here with him is the reason I got into this and realizing that these things were here in Illinois. So that was like 4 years ago I watched that video. 3 years ago? Something like that. And I don't know, the other people were with me. Just opened up my eyes to that kind of thing. I don't know. It's when I heard your story and stuff, and the Illinois River goes all the way through my town, I didn't think they could be that close to cities like that. And I went out to Yellowstone, lived out there for a summer. Didn't see as much as a bear, a moose, or anything, and I come back home here, see a mountain lion. And I knew there was other things out there because I'm into plants and tracking and identifying stuff. And when I started seeing footprints that were big or small and definitely not normal looking, and anyone else I could reach out to that has been through that and could bounce that conversation off with. And you know, I don't know what your story is, but about how you came across finding them. But how did it start for you?
Yeah, back in 1987, I saw one cross the road here by the house, and I found the footprints in the snow, and that's when it all started.
So it was
for
in the
me.
snow?
Yeah, it was a fresh snow, probably an inch.
Wow.
Riding my bicycle around on the road, just looking at the tracks.
I was 1 year old.
And I looked up, and there it was across the road. It looked like a giant orangutan. Me and my sister went up. Yeah, orangish, reddish orange brown.
Wow.
And me and my sister went up the next day and found footprints right here.
Were they big? Were they
yeah,
small
probably
and big, or just...
12 inches or so. We didn't measure them. 12.
Yeah.
13, 14 inches or so.
Yeah. And they look different. You can just tell.
Yeah.
How deep they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when you're standing next to one right next to it, and you're not
Yeah.
making the same impression at all, it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
You know.
And it was big.
Yeah. Yeah.
It looked like a set of giant orangutan walk across the road right in front of me.
I've heard there other people seen that color around here. I mean, you know, Stan Courtney, you talked to him probably.
I did?
Yeah, and he's, you know, the famous spot near my place, you know, the DuPont Curve and
Oh,
all
yeah.
that. And I think he said he saw one, same color around then. So I know they're all colors. My wife saw one a white one up in northern Minnesota, and our lives are forever changed. She never made fun of me again for believing it. So yeah, it's never been the same since that day, honestly. But yeah, it's a deep subject to not many people you can talk to about it without sounding too crazy.
Right, and some people get pretty ignorant about it.
Yeah. And
skeptics, they laugh at you, and
we need them though.
yeah.
Yeah, we need that, even if it is undue skepticism.
Yeah.
It makes people try harder to bring the evidence
Right.
and proof to the
You're
forefront.
right.
I got a question too for you, Garret. You mentioned this to me earlier in some of our discussions. You found there were commonalities, being that a lot of your experiences, eyewitness accounts, always were on waterways, whether it was near a waterway in Minnesota,
Yeah,
with you
Mississippi
and your
headwaters
wife,
up there,
or the Illinois River down here,
Yep.
not far from where you live, having experiences, and what you sort of, I guess you'd say you uncovered for me regarding Chris's experience down here, being it's also on the river, it's in a wooded area, and having a lot of the same commonalities as your area. So you want to sort of, maybe that would explain to Chris also why you were interested in this area specifically.
just looking at a map and seeing how much more the river comes here, and just looking at how much forest and just untouched land there is, wetlands and animals, and there can only be more of them here. So if they're where I'm at, which is crazy because most people, the average person, aren't looking for that kind of thing.
Yep.
And I didn't know they do structures and stuff like that, so I didn't ask to find these things. I just came across it. So we saw structures, teepees out there in the woods, and I didn't know what that was until later. And, right where we were finding footprints going through the I&M Canal that goes through Morris there, that goes in the river, and it just started. After you see it, you can't unsee it, and then you start noticing it, and you can't sleep for a while. And then who can I tell this? Who can I not tell this to? I can tell these two. But yeah. So did a bunch of casts, and then got to examine them, look at them, and kind of really find out what the mid-tarsal break is and all that stuff is. And some of the ones I have are just so deep and ridiculous. I should have brought one, but I'll send you some pictures and stuff. But how I came across, yeah, I don't know. What was the question?
It was just how you felt. I think you answered it pretty good, though,
Okay.
regarding the connection between your area and his area.
Yeah, it's just an hour away from here.
Yeah,
so
it shared a
where I
lot of
live.
the common features,
Yeah.
even maybe similarities as far as their activity, even the
I
footprints.
mean, hearing knocks and stuff like that, and that's, you know, they're pretty specific when you hear them. You know, you can tell. It's same thing in Minnesota. I mean, I left recorders out in the woods for, 24 hours and back home, and then also in Minnesota in the Chippewa, in the middle of nowhere, and heard the same similar things. And it's interesting what you pick up on those. I like the audio recordings.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'll tell you a lot. Stan Gordon will tell you about that. He's really into that.
Yeah, I've talked to him a few times.
I know every evening that I've been here, whether I come unannounced or I show up and say I'm going to spend a few hours after sunset, every time I hear wood knocks, and we'll hear vocalizations, and it's always more often than not it's from the creek bed area.
Yep.
Really? Okay.
Going east of here.
Is it like in the evening, kind of going into?
It's always like within an
Sun's going
hour
down.
before sunset to all into the night, as early as the AM hours. By then I'm usually gone. But Chris was,
Probably a different world when it's dark here at night.
Yeah, it is.
yeah, Chris, you had also told me about your sister's experiences.
Last fall we had a little fire over here by the road, and I heard some sticks breaking, and I could hear something breathing. I said, "You hear that?" She's listening, and all of a sudden we hear a big stick snap. Then you hear footsteps right across the road. She wet her pants. She ran to the car. She got halfway to the car and stopped. And we hear her walking away. And the neighbor's dogs start barking up the hill a ways. Then we heard it yell, real loud howl that echoed right through down
Valley
the
here.
creek.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right here with the.
Yeah.
They can just.
Do your animals
come right
go
in here.
silent?
Oh yeah, everything goes silent here. Foxes hide in their houses, and everything's just quiet when they're around.
Amazing. Amazing. I think you should do an overnight here. Record, do some audio.
I would.
You'll hear stuff.
I should have brought one today.
Thermals, you'll probably see one too.
Yeah. No kidding.
So what do you think of, what do you think, I'll ask Garrett this question. What do you
Go
think they are? What's your
Hippies?
opinion?
No. They're just.
Hippies?
They're just. I don't know. I haven't seen one. My wife saw it when we were in Minnesota. We were in Mississippi headwaters in the middle of nowhere, and we were kayaking, and we started hearing knocks, really weird, distinct on either side as we were going. And then she was forever changed after the moment where she's like, first thing she said was, she'd curse some words, you know. Like, oh fuck no, I didn't just see that. It was white and it had bangs. It was the color of Mac. Our Mac is our dog, white English Lab. So it was white, and she was freaking out and started paddling really fast. I said wait, and I heard it breathing and doing like a chatter thing that you've heard about. And that's when so I didn't see it, but I heard it. She saw it, so I don't know what they are. They're just a type of human, maybe. I don't know. I'd like to see one, I guess.
You think they're part human, maybe part whatever primate, ape?
They're smarter than your average bear.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
You know what I think they are?
What do you think they are, Chris?
The Gigantopithecus
Oh, do you? Okay.
never went extinct.
Yeah,
That's
they've
what
never
I
proven
think.
it. They've never
Right.
proven it. And their fossil record only has, I think they have 4 or 5 pieces of Gigantopithecus, which are really small dentines and pieces of jaw bones.
Yeah.
They not enough to even get DNA. So they
Right.
can't even prove that they're not
Right.
part of the
Exactly.
Sasquatch genome.
Because when I seen it cross the road,
How tall was it, do you think? How far away from were you?
oh, I was probably from here, not even a Don's Jeep away. I mean, probably
close.
30, 40 yards, not even. And it looked like a giant orangutan, like I said. It reminded me of the Gigantopithecus pictures I see.
Yeah.
Wow.
It looked just like it, actually.
Wow.
And it's interesting, those are basically artists with a lot of science, artists that are scientists.
Yeah.
Basically, they're similar, their idea of what they would look like based on their theory of evolution.
Right. Yeah.
So again, that's a big if.
Right, exactly.
You know, you only got 4 or 5 pieces of jawbone and dentine, and from that, you erect this thing you see at the Museum of Natural History, which is Gigantopithecus.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's a good, that's pretty close to sort of my thoughts too, and I think they're part human. Gigantopithecus, nobody's ever disproven they're not part human. So with that, did you ever think there was a time that you could step 10 feet into the bush and maybe reveal to yourself, oh yeah, it's right there? Has it ever been that way with you, Garrett? Where they've been that close?
On the towpath at night, it goes to the Ion Canal. It goes all the way, you know, to, you know, the history of it. It's a different world at night there too. And when COVID happened, and even years before that, it drained years ago, and it just got overgrown, and it's just like a jungle there. And because I saw the mountain lion, and I knew that was only a mile from my house where I live, so I knew that there was things out there that people didn't see all the time. And so, and I got a cast of one too in the river too. It's a big cat print. So, but I felt like they've been right there on the towpath. On the island is an island there that we go camping on. You have to get there by kayak, and there's stuff that you hear at night, and you just don't know what's there. But in Minnesota, we heard stuff, like I said, that day. And as far as around here goes, they're just all along where there's river. They make noises. They drum on stuff. I mean, like I said, with the recorder, when you put those out, it'll tell you a lot more of what they do. That's what gives me a better idea of like what they're doing than, you know, because you're not there and they don't. It's just different. And but I've never seen one, so I don't know.
Garrett, why don't you describe to Chris, as you did me, actually you sent me the audio, the sounds you heard on your, I think it was 12 or 13 hours of audio.
Yeah.
The sounds were, Garrett will explain it to you, Chris. It was, maybe you can confirm what he's hearing, or what he recorded.
Yeah, that was, I left a peanut butter jar out there. Or no, the first time I left it, the very first time as beginners, like I left it out there in a crevice of a tree, and you hear stuff in there that sounds like a fish, like a bone being snapped, something just cracked and being eaten, and then you'll hear stuff walk up really close to the thing, and it's not deer, they're snapping branches super loud, and then they're doing drumming, intelligent drumming, like they're dropping a ball, like
Really?
like that, like it is intense, and they do it on and off for probably an hour and a half or two.
Wow.
And I couldn't explain it. It wasn't a tree creaking, it wasn't anything, so it just got my mind rolling, because I'm an audio guy. I like listening to sound and stuff, and it was just kind of, you know, I sent it to Stan. I don't know what he thought about it, but I when I asked him, what do you think that is, he still couldn't tell me, so I don't know.
What's your thoughts on that, Chris? I mean, they do a whole bunch of different things.
They do a lot of different.
Like, it's a distinct sound. It's not like
that's
I
not.
mean, they've slapped your buildings.
Yeah.
Probably not just your house.
it's not like nature doing what I'm hearing. It's like a distinct hammering.
They'll walk up
a
to
drumming. Yeah.
They'll walk up to hollow trees and hit the hollow trees and listen for insects inside of the tree, won't they?
Yeah.
I've heard of that. Also, how they discover if trees are hollow and have raccoons or
Yeah.
squirrels living in them, they hit the tree hard enough, then they'll hear the movement, and then they'll just tear open the tree.
There's tons down by the river. The cottonwoods, they're all in the sycamores. There's a lot of them that are just hollow down by the river there, and they just.
No, what you just said though wasn't a raccoon or anything. It wasn't no coyote or deer.
I tried to be my own skeptic.
Yeah.
Break it down and.
Yeah, exactly. Rule.
I thought long and hard before I started talking to people about it. I was like, and people are like, you might be onto something here. It's just crazy. And I've talked to Doug Hijack, over the, messaged him over through Facebook, but whatever. He's a nice guy. He talked to me about what happened to us in Minnesota because he's from there, and I was like, me and my wife were up here recently in these headwaters, and she saw it was a white thing go down, and it had bangs, and it was it's steep along where we were at. It was thick with pine.
Yeah.
You could not. No one's there. And he's like, oh yeah, they're I've been in that area, in the headwater area, and there's more than not. That's the common color up there. Mm-hmm. And the next day, when we were on our way back, me and my family and my parents were still in Minnesota, and I didn't tell my mom about this at all. She was going to Bemidji, which is it's up there. We were in a little town called Pennington. On her way there, she saw a fresh big tree go down on the road and something big and white go in the woods. And she told me that without me even telling her that story.
Okay.
And it was right around the same area, and it's even thicker up there in Minnesota. I mean, if you've ever been there,
That reminds me, my sister was driving the gator here with her friend Tammy down the dirt road here. We went down the dirt road. There was nothing on the road. It was a clear path all the way down.
Yeah.
They come back through. There's a log lane right in the center of the road.
Right.
Had to go around it.
Yeah.
And then we went down with them. Some
That's
started throwing rocks at the gator.
I'm going to take him, if you guys have time today.
Haven't had rocks thrown at me yet. That's good.
Yeah, it's if you got time today, I'd like to take Garrett and his group down that road to show them how that road is. You can barely pass two cars past each other.
Yep.
It's barely a two-way. But I've seen deer on that hill alongside that road, and I can see things being thrown out of that hillside because that's engulfed in forest.
It is.
Hill. So, if you have a chance today before you guys head home, I'd like to show Garrett where that road is. It goes right,
Definitely.
Just right there.
Conservation area, and it continues down to the actual
Boat landing.
boat landing and the park trails. So
Yeah.
we'll check that out. So definitely a good segue to that is as Chris started to talk about his sister being blocked, and when she returned in the gator, can't get out. What I wonder is, have there been any other occurrences that your sisters have told you about that happened either day or night? That I think Kelly mentioned some things to me once too.
Yeah, she was out on the road here. There's an old shed over there. This is back when I seen it across the road. I think that following spring, her and her friend were out on the road, and they looked over there. It was stand by a tree, just swaying back and forth, watching them.
Yeah.
Right across the road.
That's creepy. I don't know what it is, but they seem to be more. I see this sort of pattern developing that they're with children and women.
Yep.
There's a sense that they'll reveal themselves more.
Yes.
The percentage is higher.
I was like 10 or 11 years old when I seen it across the road, so I didn't mind if I seen it. And back then, well, my sister was a couple years older than I was, so her and her friend were out there, and they let them see it too.
I think they consider men or older males a threat.
Threat, yeah.
Yeah, and that, the fact that your sisters had all these occurrences,
Yeah.
you're like right in the middle of it. Same with you. You're sort of in an area where people visit and fish all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I just catch them observing behaviors of people in your area, and then when you go down there and you're by yourself.
That's what blew my mind is, realizing that they're just there, and it's a different world at night. Like I said.
Yeah. You said it comes alive at night here. I mean, during the day, every now and then you'll hear something.
Around here. Jeez.
And a couple years back, a friend of mine was here with her two dogs. The dogs don't bark at nothing. We heard something cracking, and breaks over there. I think it was breaking the trees during the day. 2 dogs ran into the road with their hair up in their back, barking like crazy. Kind of freaked them out and kind of freaked me out because it was just weird listening to all them snaps and breaks over there.
Sounds like a lot of stuff is going on over there.
Yeah, it's where the creek runs through, and it goes across underneath the highway up to thousands of acres of timber up that way too.
Wow, yeah.
That's why I think sometimes the appropriate name, I hear people even name their channels after creek activity,
Yep,
like the Creek
right.
Devil.
Yeah.
Those are names they call it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Creek Demons, you know. So if you guys, either of you or anybody here, has, I have a few people here with me. Hi, Angie, and hello, Sean.
Howdy.
Get you in frame there. Yeah. Some people that came with Garrett to visit Chris and me, and I. My question to you was, either of you can take, you can answer in whatever order you want to. What advice would you give people regarding all of a sudden they move into their house, move into a cabin, buy a farm, happen to be near a location that they visit to fish frequently near their house, and they encounter activity? What's your advice? What should you do?
Personally,
Yeah.
get a bag of apples and gift them. They like apples. Bring apples out there. And try and kind of, sounds funny, but make friends with them.
Okay. That's one.
Don't be scared.
Mhm.
Because I don't think they're out to hurt anybody.
I think sometimes when you're fearful, it pisses, as a person,
Yeah.
when people are unjustly fearful of me,
Yeah.
it sort of pisses me off. I'm like, you're afraid of me? What am I?
Yeah.
What kind of, threat am I to you?
Yeah.
So what was your thoughts on that, Garrett?
I mean, it's like when I lived in Yellowstone for a summer, you taught to be loud when there's a bear around and be yourself and loud and known. So, or be yourself, whatever, but if you're being loud as yourself, then even better. But, what was the question again?
What was your advice to people that if they run into that situation, either at their home or a place they visit or work where there's Bigfoot activity?
Well, just notice that they're there. Don't freak out.
Yeah, exactly. Don't
They're
freak
there.
out.
They're there.
And be confident in yourself,
Yeah.
what you're doing.
The
Don't go after
psychological
them.
part of realizing that they're a thing is going to be harder than anything. But it's like the aftershock that's the thing. But I don't know, because when we saw
Leave
what
them
we saw,
alone is probably also a
Yep.
good idea.
yeah, and when we were kayaking, that was like we were moving in water, so we just kind of were going through their area. That's kind of different than like stumbling upon them stumbling upon you. I think there's a lot to do with it. If you're in their area, you're like, oh, I haven't seen a human around here in a while, depending on where you're going. But you just I tend to go to places where people aren't. So yeah, just leave them be. I don't know.
Yeah, leave
Apples,
me.
I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I thought gifting was a good idea. Show them you're not a harm to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Yeah.
A lot of people say if you feed them a lot, then they'll expect it all the time.
Yeah.
Get mad if you
Oh,
don't
that
have it,
could-
but
yeah.
I don't think.
I
don't know.
think
I've never
it's
tried that.
it's based on each
Peanut butter.
each on each personal situation. They're all
Right.
different.
Yeah, everybody's different.
I mean,
I'm sure
You don't
there's
wanna-
nice ones
you-
and bad ones.
yeah, you don't want to
Yeah.
habituate them any more
Yeah.
than you want to habituate a
Yeah.
homeless person.
Right.
They'll be living on the front of your,
Mhm.
on your
Yeah.
porch.
Yeah.
So, anybody else have anything to add?
Just let
You
them
guys
keep
have
walking.
any questions you want to ask?
I can think of right now.
It's no time limit, guys. Don't forget I can edit stuff.
And September is the time of year where everything. This is how.
Yeah.
This time of year is when we got into this.
Yeah.
Is when I start finding stuff for the first time. So like right around my daughter's birthday. So
It's active. It's active around here year round.
Right.
But-
Oh sure.
They never
Right.
leave, I don't think, but they get
Right.
more active in the fall and
Yes,
spring.
they do.
They know winter's
Yeah.
coming. They're
Yeah,
they're
they're
hustling. They're
looking
trying
for
to
more. Yeah.
do stuff. And, yeah. So it's after 3. I mean, can only imagine your whole. What you saw that in '87?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've only been in this 4 years.
And that was in November.
And
end of
it's changed my
November.
life 4 years ago. Like completely changed my
Yeah.
life. So living with this for another 30 years or something is gonna be wild. So yeah,
Yeah, I find it very interesting. I actually love it. It's just,
it's cool. You
I'm
don't
hooked.
think, yeah. Once
Yeah.
you realize it's a thing, it's
Yeah.
it's weird.
it's a real thing.
How long did it take you, Chris, to finally go public? I mean, after You
Took
tested
me
it
a
with
few
your...
years because people
Took a
laughed
while,
at me.
yeah.
And finally I said, you know what? Laugh all you want.
Exactly.
I know what I seen.
You get sick of having to defend
Well, you
yourself.
sort of tested it with your family and
Yeah,
got the
exactly.
reactions from... But being you have two sisters that had their own
Yeah.
eyewitness encounters, first-person encounters, obviously you tested it out and thought, well,
Yeah.
if this one, if I'm going to get any
Yeah.
pushback from the public, I don't care. That's
Yeah.
how I'm at. Facts speak for themselves.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Gosh, what people do nowadays, we're fine.
Yeah, right.
It's the least of your problems.
Do you think it's a benefit or a negative regarding the government proving they exist, or the government has to come forward and put their stamp of approval on it, saying now you can believe because we said it's okay.
Well, it's like the same
And
way
it
they
is
say
all-
there's no mountain lions, and then
Yes.
you see one.
Yeah, exactly.
So do we need the
whatever.
government's approval to believe it? That's, I guess,
Yeah.
the question. No.
No.
Yeah.
Do we need the government to? We need the government to get involved to set up protections for them as a species.
We need their money.
We
Yeah.
Well, we need their
Something.
money more than we need the protections. I think Bigfoot doesn't. Personally, my answer to that is, and you guys may have a different take on it, but I think having protections put in place for Bigfoot would be like having protections put in place for Native Americans.
Mhm.
They would want to put them on something equivalent to a reservation,
Yeah.
even if it is a forested area,
Yeah.
and there would be problems with trespass. Bigfoot would be regulated.
Yeah.
Because they've
I
needed
don't
your
think.
help this whole time. Right?
Yes, and all that regulation, you can see what regulation does in our society by government.
Yeah.
It usually is not always a good thing,
Right.
more often than not. So I'm assuming you guys say no to that, or you do. Cool.
Just keep it.
You know.
They can survive on their own. They don't need our help.
Yeah.
Right. They're pretty intelligent.
I think part of that, what plays into that, is making everybody aware when you're out with your family that a lot of times you very well may not be alone.
Right.
Regarding going to parks, vacationing in wilderness areas.
It's good to
Which-
know the more animals you know, what sounds they make, and what it could be walking in the woods that you're hearing, as opposed to like, do deer make what's the biggest animal that could be walking around here, you know? And what would you? I mean, there's deer. I mean, like I saw a mountain lion. I think I've heard them at night too. The big twig snapping, like big twigs, like in the middle of the night. I don't know what that is. It's not deer, so I don't think deer step on twigs with their little hooves. So I don't know. I don't know.
Chris, you remember the story you told me, Garrett might be interested in hearing, everybody here would be, about the older woman that called you in to ask if you could come and check and see if one of your elk escaped?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. That's funny. Over close to where I live here, Florida, there was an older couple that lived together. It was fall. They had their window open and they had a little dog in bed with them. And he said about 11:30 midnight, something woke him up. The little dog kind of growled and run under the bed. He said you could hear the footsteps getting closer. He said it didn't sound like a deer or nothing. It was big. And all of a sudden they heard this loud scream. You could hear it was almost like you could hear the wind coming up its windpipe. It was like screaming and yell, real loud, echoed through the forest. The little dog was shaking under the bed. So I seen him like a day or two after. He said, "Did you have an elk out?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, it sounded like an elk screaming right by the house."
Wow.
It happened twice to him.
Bugling out here in
Yeah,
Midwest?
he said it sounded similar to an
I know
elk.
what they sound like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, but it wasn't, we weren't sure if it was an elk or not. I said, no, they're all penned up. In fact, I came home that day and looked to make sure they're all penned up. And it was, he said, pretty close to the house. Their little dog didn't want to come out from under the bed.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's just a few miles east of where I live here.
I know that would be the first question I asked my neighbor if I had something screaming out in the back 40 and my neighbor was a llama farmer. I'd say, "Hey, is one of your llamas
Yeah,
getting out?"
right.
You know, because
Yeah.
that's only, that's common
neighbor.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, good neighbor policy. Instead, you're out there worried about, am I going to
Yeah.
get torn apart limb by
Yep.
limb?
Right.
Maybe.
That's the least of my worries.
Yeah.
So, with that, are there any closing remarks either of you guys want to say?
Hi.
Angie, do you want to?
So do you think they're year-round out here? Do you think
Oh,
they
yeah.
migrate? They're definitely
Yep.
here year-round.
I think they're
Okay.
year round.
All right. I was
There's so
wondering.
much cover around here. Good. There's thousands of acres of land along the river that just don't
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many places they can hide. There's caves and all that along the
yeah.
river. There's so many places they can hide all year round. And they're just more active in the fall looking for winter food, I think.
Mhm.
Getting ready for the winter.
Yeah, we've recorded wood knocks here in your front yard.
Yeah.
Right along the creek bed.
Yeah, we heard mumbling too.
When
You
was
heard
that?
mumbling?
Yeah.
Last fall,
Last
was
fall
it?
it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, it sounded like in the creek bed, right up the hill where that overlook is.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That sounded where the knocking. I mean, it was close knocking.
Yeah.
It was like first it was 200-300 yards away, and then the next thing we know, I'm recording knocks like it couldn't have been more than 20 or 30 yards from the front yard.
Yeah.
What time of day was it?
Oh, this was nighttime.
Oh,
It had to be
night,
at 9, 8:39, 10
Somewhere
o'clock.
in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a
10 at
couple
the
hours.
latest.
Yeah, it was pretty because I
Have you heard
didn't
any
stay.
recently? out here?
Oh, all the time. If I sat
yeah.
out here all the time, I mean, you can hear them at night. Yeah.
I'd say
You probably just have to shut it off at some point.
I do. I'm so used to it,
Yeah.
it just doesn't register half
Yeah.
the time, unless it's really aggressive.
Like, I don't want to play
loud.
right now. Leave me alone.
if I come here, I've been pretty fortunate because if I come here any day during the spring, fall,
Mhm.
I usually whatever day that may be, if I stay late enough, I'll hear something.
Yeah.
If I come during the summer where they're hunkered down,
Yeah.
or the winter where they're hunkered down, you might have to be here a few days to finally hear something.
Right.
But right, like tonight, I'm sure you'd hear something tonight.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Yeah,
September.
Yeah.
yeah. In fact, that one night we heard the knocks, and then in the
Yeah.
distance we hear the gunshots.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. We did hear gunshots too.
Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, it was a guy who just unloaded his gun, and then he came out with a second caliber after he emptied his gun and unloaded that into the air. And I thought,
We've heard gunshots in the middle of the night camping before too. It's always
Yeah.
weird.
I always wondered too at that point, you know, as they
Who's out
chasing,
shooting in the middle
Chasing
of
them.
the
They
night?
know they're there and
they're chasing them away. Yeah, that seems when people are afraid, they shoot into the woods. I've been
Yeah.
around that. People just shooting
Yeah.
their guns, going, I don't know, that scares me. I'll just unload into the woods.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, not good.
it's not a very smart thing to do, guys. Don't do that. Have to edit all that out. But don't shoot into
No
the woods.
shooting into the void. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be the red sticker moment on this video. So, in closing, is there anything else you guys have to share? I mean, any recent experiences, either of you,
I
Garrett,
mean, I could
Chris?
go on for hours of stuff that's happened here,
Oh,
but
I can imagine.
when do you quit?
Yeah,
Where do you?
I'm just excited to finally be here and hear all the come full circle and hear
Yes, it's,
meet you and do all
great.
this. Pretty cool.
It is.
yeah,
It's good to
uh,
talk to someone else. It's kind of therapy in some
Mhm.
way.
It is. It's
Therapeutic.
there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, we all didn't just show up because,
I was like,
We-
say,
we,
how do we get here?
yeah, we didn't all show up just because
Oh, we do
we
special
couldn't
things.
share this with people.
Right.
No, people, it's exactly that. We can't share it with people because people, at least in my family, and they're like, okay, yeah, we heard that before Dad or, Uncle Don.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So at that point, you're just sort of like, you share it with other experiencers,
Yep.
and it's like, it's a good way to get it off your chest.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, when
It's-
Illinois and knowing they're here is his story and meeting you and what really made me made it all credible and a knower.
Yeah, I mean, I looked into your situation for almost, I don't know, 10, 11 months to a year before I actually
Because you're smart.
met you. And guys, have any
Uh,
advice for people that are thinking about discovering Bigfoot lives in their backyard, or is thinking about potentially being researchers? Because this time you guys are both amateur researchers.
Yeah.
We're not to the level of a Doug Hychuk. Maybe some of us have surpassed that level.
Yeah.
We just don't share it with Doug.
Exactly.
Well, with nowadays and social media, and you don't want to. I mean, do you? You don't want to share to everybody. Oh, look what I found today, right here in this spot, and tell everybody, and then
Yeah,
that's ruined.
Sadly
Definitely
enough,
don't want to.
I mean, out here it's different. You have
Yeah.
your own spot. No one's but
Right.
like in the
Yeah.
pub. The
sadly
river,
enough,
it's
that's done a lot.
kind of like a little secret for yourself. It's
Exactly.
special. It's precious. It's delicate. Gotta
Yeah.
leave it be.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about you or Chris uploading
Right,
your
yeah.
10-minute segue every day.
You're not gonna bring a busload of people.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go over here. Yeah.
But people
Yeah.
do that. Thank you guys for allowing me to talk to you, at least getting you guys to meet each other, Garrett
Yeah.
meeting Chris
Yeah.
and vice versa, and sort of sharing their experiences. I just want to say, I know I haven't been on, it's been probably 6 or 7 months since I've done an upload. I'll be back. I have hours and hours of saved uploads, guys. Don't go away. You don't have to subscribe. You don't have to like. I don't care about any of that.